we have put together, I think, the most extensive and inclusive voter fraud organization in the history of American politics.
My name is Brian McCaffrey. I'm a registered Democrat in the city of Philadelphia. Today, I'm at the Philadelphia Convention Center, and I am overseeing the ballot counters. I will let you know the corruption that is going on here. They will not allow us within 30 to 100 feet to supervise the ballots being counted. This is a coup against the President of the United States of America, and I want to call out the Mayor of Philadelphia, James Kenney, the Attorney General, Josh Shapiro, who tweeted that there's no way Donald Trump can win President of the United States of America, and also the District Attorney of Philadelphia, Larry Krasner. I can't believe what I'm seeing right before my eyes. This has nothing to do with Joe Biden or Donald Trump. This has to do with our democracy, and I will tell you, there is corruption at the highest level in the city of Philadelphia.
And he says, like, the allegations that are being made are essentially, and this is a guy who was there and saw the process.
I was there. I saw the process.
You're IT, okay.
I was there the whole time.
He was there counting the ballots, and he said
he wasn't there the whole time.
I was there.
He'll be there every
I was
day.
there from
If
5
I can finish my
a.m.
if I can finish my
Go ahead,
statement,
I'm sorry.
I appreciate it. But he said he doesn't see it. He doesn't see what you guys are saying. He doesn't
Then he's
see.
lying.
That is a straight
Are you gonna come over here?
lie.
Well, then let's talk to her. She was there.
That is a straight lie. That's a straight lie. I was doing IT like I told you, and I was walking up and down. Every single person, the row of every single person was counting ballots. It was on my left side and my right side. I was walking down these rows, and these people had no idea what they were doing. Like I said, there was a number of 500 on someone's computer, over 480. You can't have that number. It should be over 50. The ballots come in piles of 50. That means that they were counted over triple the times that they're supposed to be counted.
That's why you call the FBI.
That's, well, I have a lot of, there's numerous reasons why I call that FBI. That's one reason. The two vans that pulled up in here that you guys, I'm sure you guys heard of. I have so much information on those vans.
That's it.
Okay.
That's
All right.
it.
Melissa, do appreciate it. They said one of those vans was a Channel 7 news truck and a news photographer.
Absolutely not.
No?
Nope.
Okay.
Nope.
All right.
Those vans were initially supposed to be for food for the employees. Rip.
There we go. Hey, thank you, Melissa. Appreciate it.
I don't work here. Move your hand. You guys are here to uphold the law, correct? Including the election?
Oh my God. Hi. Hey, so you with the elections? You're the Bureau of Elections, right?
Well, I'm just a volunteer.
We're just wondering what. Okay, I understand you're a volunteer and you're just doing your job. What's all these? Are these mail-in ballots or what's these coming in?
What are these? These are my in tape here?
What's that?
Am I in tape as well?
Yeah, because we're wondering why are ballots being handled down here and not up there with the elections. So we're curious about that.
Okay, yeah, the gentleman who's in charge of this, I think, should be right back down.
What's his name?
Gosh, what is his name? Do you know his name?
Are you volunteer or employee?
I'm a poll watcher.
Okay.
Okay.
Well,
I'm a
our
poll.
supervisor will be back here.
So what's his name?
I don't know.
Okay.
Just volunteer.
And you're a volunteer? What kind of volunteer are you? With the elections?
Yes.
Okay, I'm just curious.
I'm wondering what's going on here. This dude has a fit about something. And then flips off a ballot and then crumples it up. That's not voter fraud. I don't know what is.
Trump campaign, quote, election officials are intentionally refusing to allow representatives and poll watch.
I'm going to send it to Bill.
this lady is marking the ballots. I filmed her a half hour ago doing 6, and she's still working at it. Let's stamp it, received, and let's fill in our 6 blanks. All at the top of the tickets on each one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And there's a security guard right there who's watching her. The cops are in on it. Disgusting.
Coverings. This is real. I'm not even making this up.
I'm Chris Padone. I'm going to give my account what happened. I was here, actually been here quite a bit, and was here with members of the Trump campaign and came in a media capacity to obtain content information on election night, and unfortunately was stereotyped in that regard, and you can take for that what you may, and was not able to obtain any type of access by any means, and got a little bit, I guess you can say assertive or aggressive is the word, so to speak, and the question was asked at 1:30 in the morning, why are you here? And our response was, well, it's election night. That's why we're here, and you guys are obviously counting ballots. And it was unique because they said they had an hour and a half left of counting to do, and an official came out who was kind and access to sign documents, and a few moments later we were asked to leave. Well, I find it ironic we were asked to leave within 10 to 12 minutes when they said they had an hour and a half of counting left to do, and clearly that was an attack I think on any type of conservative media or any individual or entity that wanted to have access and cover. And we find it very unique that other outlets are able to have full access, but we were not given any type of access whatsoever. And they question the validity of my background, or any type of media, any type of experience whatsoever. So that was my personal account, and that's it.
Gave us mail-in ballots, and despite the fact that there are examples of thousands of ballots being mailed across this valley in trash cans in apartment buildings, people getting as many as 18 ballots to their homes, we knew these rolls were unclean, and we were told that signatures would save us from all fraud. But to date, we still have not been able to observe these signatures or meaningfully challenge a single mail-in ballot out of hundreds of thousands of casts. We firmly believe that there are many voters in this group of mail-in people that are not proper voters. In the last many days, we have received reports of many irregularities across the valley. We believe that there are dead voters that have been counted. We are also confident that there are thousands of people whose votes have been counted that have moved out of Clark County during the pandemic. Today, we have a voter, Jill Stokey, who was denied access to vote. She showed up to vote, and she was told someone had already cast her ballot, and she was denied the opportunity to vote. We are filing in federal district court here in Las Vegas. We're asking for emergency relief, TRO, and injunctive relief.
So I'm going to start up by saying I never wanted to post anything political on TikTok, but I am a victim of voter fraud here in Michigan. I got sent 7 absentee ballots with never applying for one. One of them was sent to me in my maiden name, and I went to vote in person on November 3rd. And after giving them my ID card. I ended up having to fill out an affidavit because I was questioned if I had voted already, and I haven't. Come to find out that somebody did vote in my name. That means there has been more than 7, I don't know how many, sent out. And yeah, so voter fraud is real. Michigan is a crapshoot, and the polls are rigged. So I don't care who you voted for. I don't care if it was Trump. I don't care if it was Biden. I don't care. Voter fraud's real, and this election is rigged.
At this time, I'm asking Mr. Daniel Sims to allow these 19 people in so that they can assist with the counting, just as the Democrats are in counting. Now, Mr. Sims has said that there are COVID rules that he cannot break, and therefore he's not allowing these people in. If that is the case, let's take 10 or 12 or 15 Democrats out and let 10 or 12 or 15 or 19 Republicans in. These fine people have been on a rooftop in the sun. They are well behaved, well groomed, all cooperative and patient. And they merely want their opportunity to help count and watch the counting. And everyone in this country now knows that overnight, 200,000 votes were suddenly appeared in the city of Detroit. That's a lot of counting. And if there's 19 Democrats down there that are counting, it's only fair that 19, now the number looks to be about 25, should be permitted to go down and count just like the Democrats. So I'm asking you, Mr. Daniel Sims, please allow these Michigan residents to come in at this time. It's now 3:26 p.m. and many of them are up here 2 hours. I called them and I asked them to come up. And they took days out of their working schedule. They took a half day, a day, to assist with the democracy of this country. That's right. That's right. And now they're being told they got to wait on a rooftop because there are COVID rules, and it doesn't make sense. The building is acres and acres. They all have face masks, and if there's 15 or 20 Democrats, then 15 or 20 Republicans should be let in, alternately at least. Exactly. They all have masks on. None of them appears to be sick, and nor have you asked them if they're sick. You could simply ask each one, do you have any COVID symptoms?
No. No. No.
Do any of you have any of you been with anyone in COVID that has COVID in the past 24 hours?
No.
So I'm making this video. This morning I had watched the press conference that took place in Las Vegas over, the ballot fraud. And I thought, well, my grandmother passed away in September. I wonder if I should look hers up and see if it shows up. So I went to Ballot Tracks and pulled up her information or placed her information in, and lo and behold, it shows up that she voted in the general election, and thanks her for her vote. And she died early September. My family's still going through a grieving process, and I was taken back, and my grandfather was taken back, my mom. It's, you don't expect this. You don't expect this. So I'm gonna flip this around and show you that she indeed, well, she didn't, but somebody voted using her identity in the Nevada general election. So down here, in the gray down at the bottom, it shows ballot outbound that it had been sent to her, and right underneath it says ballot received. And that's my grandmother.
And thank you for joining us for News 19 at 11. I'm Alicia Nieves. New tonight, an investigation revealed someone from Colombia tried to register more than a dozen dead people as Democratic voters in Florida. That's according to the Associated Press. The fraud scheme was uncovered over the summer. Elections officials flagged the 51 new voter applications as suspicious and turned them over to the state attorney. Investigators couldn't figure out exactly who mailed the 19 envelopes with the registration applications inside because there was no return address. Officials say 30 of the applications were registered under a false identity of a dead person. The identities of the others could not be verified. No mail-in ballots were requested or cast under these falsified IDs. Officials say there is a time lag between a voter's death and when election officials are notified, which is something they say the scammer seemed to know. In the Palmetto State, a record-shattering 400,000 plus mail-in ballots have already been returned.
Okay, people, in this short video I will show you how vote by mail fraud works in Michigan. So first you have to type on Google my voter information, so you get on their official website. Once you are there, you can see like your info, like you see your voter information. And now you click here, William Bradley. The guy was born on March 1902. By the way, he's dead since 1984. Zip code is 48207. And who would have imagined he has his polling place, even clerk, but what's more important, yes, you are registered to vote on 3rd November. And check this out, absentee ballot. So he voted by mail. Election date, as you see, November the 3rd. Application to vote was received on September 11. Ballot was sent 19 September, and 2nd October his ballot, his vote was received. So, and here of course you can see how his ballot looked like. He could vote for all these kind of people, and I guess that this is an obvious case of fraud, and if Supreme Court doesn't demand or better said cancel these phony and fraudulent elections, and if Trump is cheated on this obvious and bizarre way, like via dead voters, I think America is doomed as such, and this democracy there no longer exists. It's now just a fraud. Bye-bye.
With Election Day next week, a new investigation has found hundreds of thousands of questionable ballots sent to LA County voters. Investigative reporter David Goldstein has this story.
We found thousands of people in LA County received not one, but 2 ballots in the mail. Thousands more were sent to people who moved or even died. You remember Carol?
I do remember Carol.
Becky Sprigg has lived in this Santa Monica apartment complex for 30 years. That's why she was surprised when this ballot was delivered to Carol's old apartment. Even though Carol, whose name we're not revealing, moved 15 years ago, and we found out died almost 10 years ago.
It's curious that someone who passed away 10 years ago would receive a ballot.
We found that's not the only curious ballot or ballots.
What did you think when you got 2 ballots in the mail?
Well, I was really surprised and shocked.
Tommy Robinson received 2 ballots in the mail addressed to him. One to his address on Wilshire at apartment B406, the other using the number sign B406. He could have voted with either or even both, but didn't.
You could have voted twice, right?
Yes, that was my initial thought when I looked at the 2 ballots side by side and thinking, gee, what are the implications? Once I realized it wasn't my neighbor's ballot that I had accidentally gotten the mail.
As Southern Californians have started voting in person and by mail, we found out he's not alone.
What does that say about LA County?
It's a mess.
Ellen Swenson is with the Election Integrity Project California. They found in LA County more than 277,000 questionable ballots were mailed this election year. That's 63% of all the questionable ballots mailed statewide. It includes more than 4,800 duplicate ballots mailed to the same person and 728 ballots mailed to people who likely have died.
Is it possible that your dad voted in 2010?
No, he was quite dead then.
In 2016, our investigation found hundreds of dead voters still registered. Now, 4 years later, there are more.
They're just not doing their job. Again, we've tried, and they seem like to make small efforts once we report them, but then they slip back in to their problems.
Why are dead people still getting ballots in the mail? LA County Registrar Dean Logan says they try to clean up the voting rolls, but always want to err on the side of caution.
When you're talking about removing somebody's right to vote or their opportunity to get voting information, that's something that we take very seriously, and that really strikes to the integrity of the elections.
The registrar's office has always maintained that questionable ballots are only a small amount of the millions of people registered, and they do say they check signatures for duplicate votes. I'm David Goldstein, CBS 2 News.
All right, y'all, this ain't a great quality recording. Here's the deal. When you go to this website right here, it's a Detroit Index, it's at Pastebin. So somebody went to an index site and they paste in all these dead people. Look at the dates, 1907, 1920, 1903. Let me tell you what happened. The DNC found, and let's just make it easier, we'll just grab this right here and scroll all the way down. They found 14,000 dead people and added them to the voter roster in Detroit. Michigan and Pennsylvania are known for being shenanigan people. You know, they're known for being corrupt. So Catherine Kelly all the way up to Corvus Nichols is what I looked up. And you'll see it's got their first name, their last name, their date of birth, and their zip code. Notice something about these names. Corvus, Irene, Thomas, Sue, Cleo, Frida, Sabina, Viva, Susanna, Floy, Helen, Rosemary, Donald, Mary, Russell, Josephine, Catherine. You notice anything about those? I'll tell you what I noticed. They're definitely from the turn of the century, the turn of the 20th century. So that's the website you go to for that. It's going to be in the link, but in case, they block that, it's pastebin.com with the capital Q on the end. Get a good look at it. Now, here is the Michigan voter site for Detroit County. And what you'll see here, there it is. It says voter index right there. And it'll say your polling location and all this information here. And it'll say all this information. It'll say Michigan voter information, Department of State, home, your voter information, vote at home, register, vote in person, accessible, vote, your polling. So you can register online, and all you have to do is enter in that information. So let's go back. Let's try this out. And I'm going to do it through all 18 of these so you guys can see how crazy this is. So you can tune out if you get bored, but in the meantime. So let's start with, let me make it smaller so this is easier. And sorry this is slow, everybody. Number one, I just woke up. And numero los dos, I'm doing it from behind a screen with a mouse. Okay, so number one, we have Corvus. Maybe I won't do the whole list. Look how slow this is. Nichols, because I only got one hand here. I should have been smart and gotten some sort of chest-mounted camera dingus, but dumb old me. Now, I had to brute force the birth month because that isn't included in the Pastebin. But it turns out he was born in January of 1914, and his zip code is 49082. And when you enter that in, maybe nothing will happen. Maybe nothing will come up. Oh, no, something comes up. Oh, my good newness. Look at that. It shows where the voting booths are and everything. Let's scroll to the very top. What does it say? Quincy Township branch. Yes, you are registered. Corvus Nichols, born in 1914. Wow, that 106-year-old is just so sprickety-sprackety spry, jumping up, getting registered, understanding how the internet works. Oh, but you know what? Maybe he is really alive. You know, maybe there's just 14,000 100-year-old people named Corvus and Irene and Thomas and Sue and Cleo and Frida just chilling like a villain on penicillin in Detroit, just really interested in Joe Biden because they're like, wow, that old fart in his 70s is less senile than I am in my late hundreds. I think I'm going to trust him with my vote because then I'm not going to look like an idiot. Well, they're probably not saying that because they're dead, but the truth of the matter is the DNC doesn't care. And why does the DNC not care? Because they know they're going to lose. And because they know they're going to lose, they have no choice but to use fraud as a means of perpetuating this drastic canard. And so what happens when you use fraud? Well, especially when you use it with tens of millions, your infrastructure is too big for you to get a lid on it. So what happens is people like me catch your ass. All right, here's Irene Drought, 1917, 49251, October, it turns out. You see, I forgot which month it was. She lived, well, there's her clerk. Oh, look at that. There's her clerk. Your clerk has not recorded receiving your AV application. Your clerk does not automatically send out an absentee voter applications for every election. Well, that's good. So maybe they're not registered, you know? Maybe this is just people in the community. Maybe, oh, you're registered. Oh, my goodness. Yes, old Irene Drought isn't dead. Oh, my gosh, she's registered. Old Irene Drought. So, well, surely this can't be real, right? The Democrats don't lie. Everybody knows that they're pure as the driven snow, not the snow the dog peed in, but the driven snow, you know. We're not doing a Zappa send up here, you know. We're not saying don't you eat that yellow snow. That's not the kind of Democrats I'm talking about. Oh, no, not in my America. Oh, hold your horses. The thing is, I'm typing and talking, and it's really slow, and I'm filling the dead space. That's my dad proving that he's not familiar with the internet. No, he really is. He knows what he's up to. I just had to give him some crap because I can't type as fast as I'd like to, and I wouldn't be talking like this. The problem is I can't do it any faster. So he's just annoyed by that. Fair enough. Let's see. Okay, it wasn't March. It must have been January. Let's try that again. Oh, there it is. Thomas Lindsay. Oh, my goodness. And look, he's registered. And how old is Thomas Lindsay? 1916. Okay, so look, here's the whole list, and here's their birth dates. Thomas Lindsay, I'll just read them out for you. He's January, it turns out. Sue Geisel's April. Cleo Allen's June. Frida Green's October. Sabina Nienaltowski is Polish, definitely, but she's April. Viva Dyer's March. Susanna Cantalos is Greek in October. Floy Robinson was definitely born in 1909 with a name like Floy. He's July. Helen Peppera is July. Rosemary Sitter is July. Donald Severns is December. Only December on the list. Mary Thomas is August. Russell L. Hughes, you don't have to use the L in there. Just do the Russell and the Hughes is October. Josephine Kahn is July. Catherine Kelly's April. And Norma Harmon is August. That's 18 I did this morning. And all of them are over 100 years. The youngest one is 1920, so that's 100 years plus. And he wasn't the December one, so every one of those is over 100 years. The December one is 102, about to turn 103.
Now, he mentioned there, of course, the FBI are saying they've got no evidence at the moment of massive voter fraud. There have been some claims about, I mentioned earlier, that batch of votes going into Pennsylvania that was 100% for Joe Biden. Project Veritas, which are an active social media group who have got some runs on the board for highlighting some inconvenient facts in the past, have posted a story in the last couple of hours that alleges some cases, some allegations, some instances of voter fraud in Michigan. Have a look and make up your own mind.
We were issued a directive this morning to collect any ballots we find in mailboxes, collection boxes, just outgoing mail in general, separate them at the end of the day so that they could hand stamp them with the previous day's date. Today is November 4th, for clarification.
So 8 p.m. election day, November 3rd, the Court of Appeals ruled ballots have to be received by that time. And what were you told?
To separate them today so they could mark them with yesterday's date and send them through the express system to wherever they needed to go.
This appears to be an attempt to circumvent Michigan law and allow late votes. And you said there was a hamper where letter carriers were supposed to leave their ballots. Where are the ballots now?
They were putting them into express bags to go to the distribution center. In regards to a hamper, there was a standard hamper that all letter mail is supposed to go to, and they had a tub next to it that we were supposed to put any ballots collected today into.
Now, we haven't been able to independently verify that, but it gives you an idea of the sorts of allegations and the sorts of carry-on that could go on, and obviously those claims will now be investigated.
Are you guys collecting ballots?
Yeah.
I thought they collected them all. I just want to document.
No, we're still collecting.
How much? Wait, but how come they already called the state?
Because these are mail-in ballots.
Are there a ton in there?
Yeah.
All right, are you collecting from a lot of places? Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, I'll just document. Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Are you guys official election guys? All right, and let me just ask you one thing. Where do you guys take them?
Election center. That's it.
Is that in the government building?
LA County.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there a lot more in there?
6 feet, please.
Okay. Thank you guys. I just want to see because they called our state so
6 feet,
quickly.
please.
I know, I am.
You don't have a mask either.
Oh yeah, sorry.
Rage after a postal worker was caught on camera dumping mail. Look at these images showing a mailman throwing mail into a popular dump site. 41 Action News reporter Charlie Keegan went to that site at 45th and Garfield and met with the man in charge of investigating dumping crimes.
Well, let me give you a look here around 45th and Garfield. The city calls this one of its top 3 illegal dump sites, and you can see all sorts of trash here. But what we noticed this morning, as you look down the embankment, down the hill here, actually a couple of representatives from the USPS are here, and they're cleaning up some of the mail that the city found here. Now, I want to talk to Alan Ashers, who is the city's illegal dumping investigator and specialist, and I just tell us a little bit about how you discovered what appears to be mail being dumped here by a Postal Service employee.
Sure. I was looking through our surveillance camera footage and noticed a mail vehicle sitting here, which is not unusual. A lot of people take their breaks here. But once he left, I found some mail that wasn't here when he pulled up. Just little white letters like you would see in your mailbox. Looked a little suspicious, so I came out here and I started taking a look around, and I found some letters and stuff like that. But then I started noticing a trail of flyers and other things lead me to the side of this hill here where there's just bundles and bundles of mail that were dumped down the side of this hill here.
And now what's it like to see this morning, the USPS here actually cleaning some of it up?
Well, it's fantastic. It could sat here for, until the city cleans this area up once a month on its own. You just can't afford to come out and clean it up every darn day, or we would be.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Alan. And Alan was telling me that he'll send out a court summons to the individual there who was on surveillance camera dumping this mail. And then I did speak with the USPS, and the spokesperson said that this is not consistent actions that represent the values of the Postal Service, and they are investigating these claims, and they could not comment any more until their investigation is complete. In Kansas City, I'm Charlie Keegan, 41 Action News.
Federal prosecutors say a West Seneca postal worker could have interfered with the election by stealing absentee ballots and other mail. He's now charged with delay or destruction of mail. 7 Eyewitness News reporter Hannah Bueller shows us what led to the arrest and what authorities say they found in the man's car.
It was 7:30 p.m. on election night when Customs and Border Protection officers say they stopped a U.S. postal worker near the Peace Bridge after getting off the 190 at the wrong exit. Customs and Border Protection officers did a sweep of his personal car. It was there investigators say they opened the trunk of Brandon Wilson's vehicle and found a postal carrier box with 3 absentee ballots sent to 2 Buffalo addresses from the Erie County Board of Elections, 106 political mailings, 220 first-class mailings, and 484 standard mailings. That's a total of 813 mail pieces that prosecutors say did not belong to Wilson. The first-class letter mailings were supposed to go to zip codes in the Buffalo-Cheektowaga border, with the majority going to 14215. In the criminal complaint, prosecutors say Wilson, who is from West Seneca, initially told officers the mailings were for him and his mother, but then said in September he estimated he placed mail from his delivery routes into his personal vehicle trunk on more than 4 occasions. Wilson said he intended to decrease the amount of mail in the trunk of his vehicle by placing a small amount into USPS missort containers in the morning before his shift began. But federal prosecutors say he hadn't placed any mail in the missort containers for 3 weeks. U.S. Attorney J.P. Kennedy says this office is committed not only to ensuring the integrity of the mails, but also individuals' right to vote in a free and fair election. The criminal conduct with which this defendant is alleged to have engaged undermine both of those interests. And the U.S. Postal Service tells me Wilson has been placed on emergency placement, which means he is out of work and has no access to the mail. This is pending the outcome of this criminal investigation. If convicted on the charges, he could spend 5 years in prison. Reporting in West Seneca, Hannah Bueller, 7 Eyewitness News.
And this just in, the 26-year-old Postal Service mail carrier has been arrested accused of dumping mail, which included election ballots, into a dumpster. Investigators say that Nicholas Beauchesne of Kearney, New Jersey, threw out more than 1,800 pieces of mail, which included 99 general election ballots intended to be delivered to residents along his routes in Orange and West Orange. The Postal Service says that mail has since been delivered. Beauchesne will be arraigned this afternoon and faces 5 years in prison and a $250,000 fine if convicted. Happening today.
The man I spoke with today has a reason for taking out the trash. It's his job. But he also believes you should be sending your ballots in or taking them in person, which is the exact opposite thing that elections officials want you to do. They'd like you to drop them off or put them in the mail.
It has nothing to do with political. I want a fair election.
Charles West didn't feel like things were fair when he says he found Utah voter ballots in a dumpster Thursday morning.
I dumped a can today, and I'm finding ballots in the garbage can. Pardon my French, just mad.
Charles has been working in waste collection for 5 years. The ballots he found in Sandy were a first.
No joke, look. That's what I was able to find that fell out of the garbage can. It was an 8-yard can. I don't know if you guys understand what that is. That's a pretty big can.
There are plenty of reasons why the ballots could have been found that way, from theories of them being stolen from mailboxes and dumped to being spoiled addresses that were incorrectly put into circulation. Either way, it is a little odd to find ballots spewing out of a dumpster.
I think it's very important that we have a secure vote and people's information isn't compromised. I mean, this opens these people up to fraud. It opens up to everything. I'd be terrified if my name was on that ballot.
The state of Utah is no stranger to mail-in voting, which has been in the works for nearly a decade. So if your ballot gets in the wrong hands, there's a way to know.
We verify against the signature to make sure no one's voting that shouldn't vote. So there are some hiccups sometimes, and we'd like to hear those reported so we can fix those and work with the county clerk.
With the ongoing pandemic, county clerks across the state are stressing the importance of not showing up at a polling station to vote this year.
They can put it through the mail. They can also put it directly in a drop box that gets to the county clerk. Now, if someone really wants to go to a polling location and drop off their ballot, that's also fine. They can do that, but we don't want people congregating, especially with these spikes we have in COVID, at polling locations. We don't want that to be a super spreader kind of event.
Charles developed a recent interest in politics and has a defined political affiliation, but he says this isn't about one side of the aisle versus the other. He just wants everyone's vote to be counted.
I'm just a patriot. I'm American. I'm all about America, and I just want a fair election.
We reached out to those with their names on those ballots that were found in the dumpster. We didn't hear back from them. We also reached out to the U.S. Postal Service. You'll hear their reply coming up tonight on Fox 13 News live at 5. Now, if you're one of those people waiting by the mailbox, anxiously waiting to get your ballot, if you haven't gotten it in a few more days, that's the best time to reach out to your individual county clerk's office. We're live in Salt Lake City tonight. Brian Schnee, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Concern over mail during this election season, this story may hit a nerve. Mail-in ballots that were until today just sitting in trash, along with a wedding announcement, a last will and testament, and other important documents.
Channel 2 investigator Robert Arnold is solving the mystery tonight by tracking down how that mail got into that dumpster. Robert?
Well, that's the $64,000 question U.S. postal inspectors are working on now. We do know the mail was not stolen here. It was tossed in that dumpster. As for who did it, one big clue was captured by complex security cameras. It's 3:29 a.m. and you're watching two men, faces covered, dumping 2 large boxes of mail in a dumpster at the Willow Run Townhomes on Perry Road near Winfern. Later in the morning, a resident noticed the dumped mail and alerted complex management.
I was wondering, what is this? Where did it come from? Who did this?
John Lester got everything out of the dumpster and into the complex's office while they waited for postal inspectors.
All of it was opened and dumped.
Here's a rundown of what was tossed in the trash.
This here was last will and testament for a child. When we seen it was a bunch of personal information. There's a bunch of legal documents in there, voter ballots, there's wedding announcements.
You heard that last part right. We saw one absentee ballot, a vote for President Donald Trump, bound for Baton Rouge. Another was heading to California.
It's very concerning.
When a postal employee arrived to collect the mail,
This raw mail. This raw mail.
raw mail means it hadn't been processed yet. See, no postmarks. None of this mail was stolen here. The Postal Service reports at least some of the mail was stolen from the drop-off boxes at the post office on West 19th, a good 12 miles away. That may not be the only place that was hit, though.
This was just sent yesterday.
An employee of the Guest law firm told us these documents were left at the post office on Timmons near Lakewood Church.
That's what's so shocking. That where the post office is located and it's found way over here.
And that brings us back to this video. You can't see a license plate, but here's a better look at the car. And the two men are clearly dumping the mail. U.S. postal inspectors are leading this investigation, including making sure those two ballots reach proper destinations. We're going to have information on how to check if your mail was among this mail that was stolen and dumped in the dumpster, along with another look at that surveillance video on the homepage of click2houston.com. Reporting live from Northwest Harris County, Robert Arnold, KPRC, Channel 2 News.
Yep, it strikes a nerve.
Yeah. Oh, Trump. You gotta do what you gotta do. Fuck Trump. I've got around 80.
Explain one more time.
So the people that were in front of me, there were two people in front of me that used the Sharpie.
Yes.
That was given to them by the poll workers.
Yes.
It did not read their ballot.
Okay.
And they slid it in there twice. I used a pen.
Yep.
Took their Sharpie and threw it away.
And it read your ballot.
And it read my ballot.
And it read your ballot.
And it read my
So
ballot.
what they're doing is they're telling people to use the Sharpies. That way,
Yes.
those votes aren't counted.
Yes.
That's exactly what's happening. So there was other people that were in there voting with their pens, and they literally went around and they were yanking pens out of their hands.
Yes, they tried to do that to me, and I took their Sharpie and I hid it because then they said, look for all the Sharpies that are not being used and take the Sharpies back. They had a bowl of pens behind them that they were not giving to people and only giving Sharpies out.
There we go. So the ones with the Sharpies are not being read at all.
No.
No. None of those ballots are being read.
Of course not.
So that's and so they're doing it because they're trying to skew all of the votes in
Yeah,
there.
and they
That's
didn't,
exactly
and they
what's
didn't
going
try
on.
to even slide it more than one time. They immediately took it and slid it in the front, like not even tried a second time. They just
That's correct.
ran it through and slid it in the front, and I was like, wait a
That's what
second.
they did with yours?
Yep, and I just went with the Sharpie, voted Trump, and she just slid it in, and that was it. But
But they're not counting. They're not counting the ones with the Sharpies. And so they're forcing people to use the Sharpies, and those votes aren't being counted.
Right.
That's what's going on.
Right. And then I posted it on my Facebook group chat in my neighborhood. They said they did it at the Queen Creek Library. They did it at ASU Polytech earlier. That like 4 different polling places were doing Sharpies, all in like between Queen Creek and like the edge of Gilbert.
Yep. And those ones are not being counted.
Yeah.
They're invalid.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yes.
like I have proof.
So they're invalidating votes is what they're doing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like
That's how
I
it
took a
feels like.
picture of my
Okay.
ballot for
And then
Trump.
there was a guy that directly came out and yelled at me 3 times. They both came out.
Oh no, they called the sheriffs
You guys
and said
stop.
that and told us to stop handing out the ballpoint pens, in which case those are the only ones that are actually being
Yeah.
counted and validated.
I used your pen and then I
Yeah.
sent it back to you and I
And
said,
they're-
give this to somebody. 'cause this
Yes,
works."
yes. And so we know that, and we've been telling them you need to use a ballpoint pen, not the Sharpie, and now those are getting invalidated.
Yeah.
So people are coming here to vote for Donald Trump, and those votes are all getting invalidated. That's what's going on.
If all this wasn't enough, in Antrim County, ballots were counted for Democrats that were meant for Republicans, causing a 6,000 vote swing against our candidates. The county clerk came forward and said tabulating software glitched and caused a miscalculation of the votes. Since then, we have now discovered that 47 counties use this same software in the same capacity. Antrim County had to hand count all of the ballots, And these counties that use this software need to closely examine their results for similar discrepancies. The people of Michigan deserve a transparent and open process.
Country, they have come up with zero evidence of widespread fraud.
And that is not true. That is absolutely not true. People have signed legal documents, affidavits stating that they saw illegal activities. And that is why we need to have this conversation in court. The New York Times itself said that there were clerical errors. If
No
you look at what happened in
widespread
Michigan,
fraud, Governor. That's
that
very
we had
different.
computer glitches that changed Republican votes to Democrat votes. You look in Pennsylvania, dead people voted in Pennsylvania. So, George, I don't know how widespread it is. I don't know if it'll change the outcome of the election. But why is everybody so scared just to have a fair election and find out? We gave Al Gore 37 days to run the process before we decided who was going to be president. Why would we not afford the 70.6 million Americans that voted for President Trump the same consideration? If Joe Biden really wants to unify this country, he would wait and make sure that we can prove we had a fair election.
Governor Noem, Al Gore was behind.
Secondly, we're in a situation where we have put together, and you guys did it for our the President Obama's administration before this. We have put together, I think, the most extensive and inclusive voter fraud organization in the history of American politics. Extensive and inclusive voter fraud organization